Hey y'all, I am Niyah, back with another episode of Niyah News. This is our 8th episode, and I'm so excited to be with y'all again, and I'm ready to chat. So, let's start it off the way we always start it off. We're going to talk about some of my current faves. What am I currently watching? What am I currently reading? What am I currently eating? Starting with the food, y'all. I've been on a slight mini tour. I went to Arizona the first week of June, and next week I went to Puerto Rico. And then when I got back from Puerto Rico, I went to St. Louis for the weekend. And I feel like each trip has inspired like a different food kick. Like in my last video, I had mentioned how I wanted that spinach dip from when I had got it in Arizona. Well, this week, oh my gosh, y'all, I had the best calamari in Puerto Rico. So I gotta say, that's my fan fave for this week. The calamari was so good. And yeah, that was definitely the highlight of my food this week. For what I'm currently reading, y'all know I'm a Wattpad girly, and it's so funny because I did just recently purchase 2 books from the Reader's Market, but right now I'm still reading on that Wattpad, y'all. I just got done reading this book. It's called His First Love or My First Love. It was a really good, cute, like short story. Y'all know I love me a romance book. It did what it needed to do. So yeah, read that. I will put the name of the book and the author up here just in case y'all want to check it out. I know it'll be a lot of other Wattpad girlies on here too. So we got that, and then we also have for what I've been currently watching, y'all. I am back watching Suits. For some reason, I was watching Suits really hard years ago, but I stopped watching it during the season when this is a spoiler, but the season when Mike went to jail. And I picked it back up, and y'all, it's been holding my interest really good because y'all, I couldn't keep watching the Law and Order, the homicide episodes. It just wasn't as entertaining to me. And I like a little plot twist, and I don't think I like the watching like the court portion of the show. It wasn't as interesting to me as it like is in like shows like Suits. So yeah, back watching Suits, enjoying Suits, and let's go ahead and get into the pop culture. So for pop culture this week, I have a few things that I want to talk about. So first things first, I'm pretty sure a lot of you have heard about the comment that Oprah was recently doing an interview. She came out and said that there was a time during Whitney's like end of her career and end of her life where she had a performance, she fell while doing the performance, or like her manager had came back, Whitney's manager came back and cleared it up and was saying that it was a sound check. So I don't know if it was like a live performance or if it was a sound check where they allowed people to be there as well. Nonetheless, Whitney Houston fell. Oprah said that she begged everybody to not post it. Like she begged the audience to not post it and other people who were within the building to not post it and not to talk about it or leak it to the media. Apparently they didn't because this is the first we've heard of it, but Oprah is receiving a lot of backlash. And why did she share it, right? I definitely feel like I resonate with that in the sense that I don't think if you went out your way to try to ask everybody, especially when you know how easily and how lucrative it is for people to leak information like that about celebrities, for them to have respected it and you to ask them to do so, and for it to have been this long, it's like longer than 15 years, and nobody knew that about her. I just don't think it was necessary for anybody to know that Whitney Houston fell. Like, I don't think it was necessary. And I can understand if she was saying it in a sense like, okay, Oprah is a great journalist. Am I saying her practices are always correct? No. But at her core, she is a great journalist. To where I could even see if like she was in a journalism class or was a professor for a class in which she was just talking about having integrity with journalism. Like, hey, there are going to be times where you shouldn't just report anything just because you know it's something that people want to hear, like, or people want to know about. Some things you have to consider, or most things, or all things you should consider the fact that when you are discussing and reporting, these are people you are talking about and they have real life feelings, to where you don't have to share every little detail, especially things where you know it's embarrassing and people are already going through what they're going through within their own individual lives. So I could understand more if Oprah had shared it in more of like a academic setting or like a journalism setting, which I'm not even saying that she even needed to say Whitney's name. I probably would have preferred overall for her to not say Whitney's name because, like I said, it's been 15 years. You went out your way to ensure and ask that no one shared it. So I do feel like she could have protected her legacy a bit more with that, and knowing that like we don't even have to mention it was Whitney Houston. You could have just said it was a legend. We have plenty of legendary people to where people could have guessed. You know, they could have guessed but not known it was Whitney Houston. So I just feel like with that, Oprah bringing it up in that setting wasn't necessary. And it was like, even if, like I said before, even if she did talk about it in an academic setting, I just don't think it needed specifics of like who it was. And especially when we know a lot of people try to reduce Whitney Houston down to just like the drug addiction she experienced or the drug addiction she had to fight with. And she's so much more than that. She's a legend. She's an icon. She has done so much. She has literally set the foundation of how people sing today. So it's like, we're not going to disrespect her, and we're also not going to try to hone in on just that. It's like when Tina Turner is literally a pillar of rock and roll, but people try to reduce her down just to the abuse that she had to endure. So it was like, okay, Oprah, this is unnecessary. Next thing's next. Oversharing. So they were on Twitter recently and they were saying, is it oversharing or is it just actually being helpful? I do feel like there are times where people do overshare. Like, for an example, of course, we all know that like people want to get a reaction out of people and people want to share things in order to get attention, right? Especially like when you have your TikTok story times and things of that nature, people intentions are to go viral. They want to share something that many people haven't heard before, things that just would, ultimately like just blow your mind, like you can't imagine. But I do feel like there are situations where it's like, yes, people are oversharing, but it is helpful. For an example, there was one time, it was this girlie on Twitter who was saying that basically the student loan like departments and people, they was coming after her, like they had dropped her credit score 200 points, right? And she was saying what she did about it. That same thing was happening to me. Like literally they had said I had a late payment for my student loans, which I didn't even know my student loan repayments had even started. And before you know it, my credit score had also dropped 200 points to where it was like, hold on, I gotta get this fixed. And lo and behold, seeing what that girlie was talking about under that thread and it actually worked, I was like, well, thank God she was willing to share that, But there are other times where it's like, yes, I do love a good messy story time, but there are times where it's like, baby, everybody didn't need to know that about you. Like, you might need to be going to talk to a therapist. Or another thing is this, like a lot of people talk about the fact that like it'll be a wife, right? It'll be a wife from some sort. She will post on TikTok. It's typically TikTok, or she might even talk about it on Twitter, but it's typically TikTok where she'll post a video how her husband basically could be abusive, or he has weaponized incompetence, or he doesn't do anything, or how he isn't the best father. And then we'll post it or share a story about it, but then we'll get mad when other people want to say, agree with them. Like basically, he's not a good partner. You should leave him, and this and this. My thing with that is, if you are going to overshare, be willing to accept the reactions that people are going to have and the opinions that people are going to have, because you know they're going to have them. And also, too, I feel like a lot of times when people are oversharing, they know that they wanted that attention. Like, even if it's not always the attention they wanted. Now, I also do feel like there are times where it's appropriate for people to overshare because there are certain things that need to be talked about, For an example, I would never tell a rape victim that they couldn't share their story. Like, I absolutely feel like whenever anybody who has been sexually assaulted feels like it's time for them to share their story and needs to talk about the assault, it needs to name names and do what they would like, that should be ultimately respected. Although that is a very traumatic event, whenever they are ready to do so, I don't feel like that's necessarily oversharing, because of course they're creating a platform for not only the shame to be around a rapist, but also for the people to come behind him who have experienced the same thing to also be empowered to share their story as well. So there are times where like people can share things that are traumatic or are horrific, and I still feel like it's not necessarily considered oversharing, because it's like, this is their story. They didn't ask for this to happen to them, and they deserve to share it. But there are some other oversharing times where it's like, hey, baby, you didn't have to tell me that you paid a man's $24,000 in child support, bought him a new house, bought him a new car, and then he left you. Come on, some of these things just need to be left in the group chat, all right? Leave it in the group chat. Some of that is like, all right, you're losing me here. You're losing me. Then what else? I feel like there was one more thing on Twitter where I was like, hold on now. I think it might have actually connected to my lesson of the week. So I'm going to go ahead and go into my lesson of the week. And my lesson of the week is this, y'all. I was recently on the call with my therapist earlier this week. I had therapy. And it was my 59th session. Y'all, I'm about to have my 60th session next time. But I realized, she made me realize that there are times where I over evaluate my life. And she had said something to me and it really stuck with me. And it is, everything does not have to be assessed, right? Everything does not have to be assessed, and everything does not have to be evaluated in a way that you are planning or dissecting what could have been better. We don't have to do that. And it really just made me realize more of my humanness in the way that, like, everything is not an assignment. Everything is not a project. Like, there are times where you're allowed to just live. Every time that when you're just living or moments you're basking in, it might not be a 10 out of 10, but it also doesn't have to be something that needs to be fixed either. To where it just did shift my perspective in everything really doesn't have to be assessed. Like, and I feel like I'm a person where I heavily focused on what's the plan? What are we doing? What do we need to get done? How am I going to do this? How am I going to accomplish this? I'm like a to-do list, to-do list, to-do list, to-do list type of person. But it's also just like, I want to focus more on being a person who just enjoys the moment. Also a person that realizes that I am human and I don't have to be perfect. And I don't have to assess everything. I'm allowed to just live. Because also assessing everything makes things really exhausting. Like, girl, I can't perfect the moment. It's ways in which you can romanticize your life without trying to fix everything. So my lesson of the week has really just been taking a step back, enjoying where I am. And by enjoying, I don't mean trying to fix it or trying to see what can I do this, what can I do better with this, or what can I do better with this. I'm trying. My effort is worth it. I'm doing, and it's enough. I don't have to keep assessing because assessing is not going to make my situation any better. Now, there are times in life, especially when you are working on projects, when you are trying to create a business, when you are doing your assignments and, things of that nature, then things like that need to be evaluated and assessed on how you can get better. But as I'm living my life, I'm realizing, yes, I don't have to assess everything. I don't have to try to make things better. I can enjoy them for what they are and I can move forward. And that's taken a great deal of pressure off of me because I feel like a lot of times I try to compartmentalize so much in my life to ensure that I'm this well-rounded person and that I basically have all of my ducks in a row. And it's also just like I'm not giving myself enough time to just breathe, be a person, live in the moment, enjoy where I'm at now. So that's where I'm at. Everything does not have to be assessed or evaluated. And overall, I'm very content with my life. I'm very excited for what's to come, but I'm also enjoying what is here. And yeah, I hope you all enjoyed this episode. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. I know this episode was a little bit more like on the calm side, but yeah, I just wanted to catch up with y'all a little bit. See, and y'all don't forget, comment anything you think you want me to talk about in this podcast. I see y'all comments. I would definitely love to talk about it. And yeah, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you in my next episode.